What up, y'all? Your boy David is back from NBA Knowledge, and today we are here to talk about the top 10 NBA conspiracies throughout history. Now, before we get started, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you drop a like and comment some more suggestions. I would love to hear your opinions also of what you think about this video down below in the comment section. Hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified after each and every single video. And without further ado, let's get on with the top 10 NBA conspiracies. Now, the first conspiracy theory that we have is the 2006 NBA Finals being rigged. There are so many theories about the 2006 NBA Finals, and the main reason is because Dwayne Wade got so many free throw attempts and got so many calls, and honestly, I can see why a lot of people believe the Heat got rigged to win the NBA Finals that year. But the problem about this theory is that Dirk did miss a key free throw in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, and Dirk actually got some free throw attempts, and if you look at both teams' attempts from the free throw line, I don't think it's that much outweighing as a lot of people say, and they were given certain opportunities to win that series, and that's why I just personally don't subscribe to this narrative. And Dwayne Wade also went off and was more aggressive than Dirk in a lot of late moments in those games, so of course you're gonna get more free throw attempts as the game progresses. So I just don't understand that particular theory, but it is a theory out there and a lot of people have put it to the test. The next theory that we have is Allen Iverson being blackballed from the NBA. Now, a lot of people don't really talk about this, but it is a theory out there, and if you haven't seen B-Soul's video about it, make sure you go and check out that video. There was a video he made about Allen Iverson being blackballed from the NBA, and honestly, it is a legit theory that we will never be able to confirm or deny. On one side, you really do have the fact that he could have been blackballed, considering that he was putting up respectable numbers at the time of his retirement, and he was bouncing from team to team and not really staying on one consistent roster. But you then have the other side of it where Allen Iverson just could not accept a lesser role on a team, and that's why he ended up bouncing from team to team and just not really fulfilling a specific role that the team had set for him. Similar to kind of like Carmelo Anthony when he bounced from the Knicks, eventually to the Thunder, and then to the Rockets, and now eventually with the Trailblazers. So I can definitely see both sides of this theory. Another theory that's very common with NBA fans is Michael Jordan, instead of actually retiring, was secretly suspended. Now, we all know Jordan had a huge gambling problem, which led to a lot of turmoil in Michael Jordan's life. He probably had a lot of debts that he needed to pay to certain people that were not very nice, just to put it lightly. And then when it came to Michael Jordan's retirement, in the middle of those three-peats, a lot of people wondered why he would just leave and just go to baseball and then just come back in a year and a half. It was very strange and something that we had never seen done before in the NBA, and he was doing it at the pinnacle of his success. People forget Jordan was at the prime of his career when he just decided to pick up and go to baseball, and him being suspended would have been a very smart explanation for why he did that, because it made no sense. He was terrible in baseball. It really, realistically, the money, I don't really know how the money would have been so different. Maybe the pay might have been something that he did it for. I mean, who really knows? But Jordan was at the peak of his success, and it made no sense for him to just leave. So him actually being suspended for gambling debts makes much more sense. And we have heard a lot of other prominent names such as Skip Bayless and Nick Wright, who I know they may not be the most credible, but they are prominent names in the media, talk about this theory. So this theory may hold more truth than we may actually know. Next, we have the 2002 Western Conference Finals in Game 6, where the Sacramento Kings played the Los Angeles Lakers. And if I'm being honest with you guys, we will argue this forever. There were so many bad calls at the end of games, but I gotta be real, there were some calls that the Kings did get that honestly were actual fouls. I gotta be real with you. This theory to me doesn't really hold up too well, but there were some very questionable calls that the Lakers did receive, and there were some calls that the Kings should have actually received. This is just a matter of opinion if we're really being honest. Refs are human, they're gonna have difference of opinion like us, and though I would really want this theory to actually be true because it would mean that Chris Webber was actually legit stripped of an NBA championship because they would have won had they got to the finals. I just honestly can't really say I put too much truth into this theory because it could really go both ways if we're being honest. Now, this theory is kind of a little funny when you think about it. It is that Kevin Durant actually joined the Warriors not just to win championships, but to effectively kill Under Armour shoes. Now, if we're being honest, Under Armour shoes kind of really started popping when Steph Curry joined the mix, and then, his shoes came out. And if we're being honest, some of his shoes kind of suck, but that's a topic for another discussion. But one of the big theories is that he went to Golden State just to kill people from buying Steph Curry shoes. Now, I don't know the statistical side of it. I don't know if his actual sales did go down drastically and if it actually did impact his shoe sales. But if this theory is true, that's pretty funny because Kevin Durant obviously went with Nike and Steph Curry turned down Nike because they wouldn't let him write "I can do all things" on his shoes. It's a whole story there. But if this is a true theory, man, I really don't know what to say about it. This is just one of those that if it's true, it's funny. If it's not, it's whatever. This is another theory that is kind of funny even though it shouldn't be, and that is that the Spurs turned off the AC so that LeBron James could have cramps in Game 1 of the 2014 NBA Finals. And honestly, the more I think about this, it could be true because this didn't happen in any of the other games of the finals, but the only reason I just refuse to believe it is because I just don't get Popovich signing off on something like that. And if we're being honest, the Spurs just demolished them even in the other games, so it wouldn't be shocking if the Spurs just looked at that series like they were actually going to win. I bet the Spurs thought they were going to win the year before, so why would they do it now when in reality the series just didn't look like it was going to go to 7 games with Dwayne Wade having injuries and Chris Bosh just not playing well? So I definitely think that Greg Popovich also as a person, just why would he even sign off on that? Do we know Greg Popovich to be the guy to cheat? Let's just be honest. But it is a fun theory because it still didn't happen in any of the other games, and LeBron James had cramps in the game that the AC went out, so I just definitely find that a little bit ironic. Now, this theory is also a little funny, if I'm being honest, and that is that Marcus Morris impersonated Markieff Morris in Game 2 of the 2017 Eastern Conference Semifinals with the Wizards against the Celtics. Now, if you remember, Game 2 of that series was when Isaiah Thomas dropped 53 points. But let's take it back to Game 1 for a second, because in Game 1, Markieff Morris looked like he suffered what looked like a pretty severe ankle injury, and then in Game 2 he dropped 16 points and also 6 rebounds in 26 minutes of play. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Lil Marcus just came out of nowhere from the Pistons at the time, who I believe he was on, and then just joined the Washington Wizards for that night and impersonated Markieff. It's one of those funny theories that if it's true, I mean, they can't really punish them. They did lose the game anyway. And if it's not true, then I guess it is what it is. Now, this theory is kind of out there, and a lot of people have talked about it. I believe Aisha Curry has even said the 2016 NBA Finals were rigged, blah, blah, blah. But this theory makes a little bit more sense than just the other calls that you saw in the game, and that is that the NBA actually suspended Draymond to extend the 2016 NBA Finals. Now, I gotta be real with y'all. I believe Draymond Green would have been the Finals MVP had they won that series, and I do believe had he not gotten suspended, the Cavs would have lost to the Golden State Warriors in the 2016 NBA Finals, probably in that particular game that he got suspended. But when you look at the other side of it, even though obviously Draymond's suspension did help LeBron James go off for 41 points, he went off for 41 points the next game also. So I definitely think that that's something to take into consideration, that comeback still could have been possible because there is a man on the other team named LeBron freaking James and Kyrie fucking Irving. So I definitely think that those two alone, that point alone, should be taken into consideration. But when you look at the play itself, that play didn't really look like Draymond did anything too severe wrong to LeBron James. If anything, LeBron is the one that walked over Draymond, so that should be taken into consideration. But regardless, I can see both sides of this, theory. Now this theory is a little bit out there, but just stay with me. It is about the NBA draft lottery being rigged the year that LeBron James left. I mean, think about it. How ironic that the team that loses probably the best player in the league, the guy that was going on to become one of the greatest, if not the greatest player in NBA history, and a lot of people projected him to be like that, and then that team that he leaves just so happens to get the first overall pick the year after, and they select Kyrie Irving from Duke. So I definitely think that that is out there, but let's not forget that LeBron James is the best player in the world and was the best player in the world, and the Cavs didn't really put the most ideal roster behind LeBron James when he was there. So when that roster has to play on its own when LeBron leaves, it's very obvious that they're gonna go from that 66 win team to a lottery team, and that's exactly what happened, which ended up in them resulting in getting the first overall pick, like a lot of teams have done in NBA history. So I just wouldn't be surprised if they actually genuinely won. There's two sides of every coin. It can land on either side if you throw it up. That's basically how I look at this theory. Now the last theory that we have is that all draft lotteries are rigged. I specifically wanted to talk about that draft lottery, but in this point, let's talk about all of the lotteries, because when you think about it, there have been so many lotteries, and I'm going to point out a few that the story is just too perfect. You can look at the Pelicans this past year. Not only did this team have a lower percent chance of getting the #1 pick than the Knicks, the Bulls, and all these other lottery teams, but this team had just lost Anthony Davis. They were trying to get the pieces that they had on their team before trading Anthony Davis, and guess what they get? The first overall pick. And the Lakers also get a top pick in the draft as well that they can package with Anthony Davis. It seemed like the league just wanted them to get certain picks, the Lakers and the Pelicans, and then they made that trade happen, and Zion was in New Orleans with Lonzo and Ingram, and AD was in LA with LeBron. That's too much good business for the NBA to exploit right there. And then you also have another draft lottery, like lottery with Derrick Rose. Let's be honest here, even though I'm glad that Derrick Rose did go to Chicago because I am a Bulls fan, let's just face the facts. The Bulls were not the #1 odded team to get Derrick Rose in that draft, or excuse me, the #1 pick of that draft, but we got it anyway, and Derrick Rose is from Chicago. What a blessed story that would be. So yeah, there are certain instances where certain teams will get the first overall pick, and if we're being honest, it's too perfect of a situation for us to not give it the side eye. But we could also look at it like random events are going to happen every now and then, and we should just accept it. Yeah, that's really the best explanation that the NBA could give us, because it is a reasonable explanation. But yeah, that concludes this video. Make sure you drop a like down below if you enjoyed it so I can keep making content on here. Make sure you comment your opinions. I would love to know what you guys think. If you have any other suggestions for future videos, comment them as well. Hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified after each and every single video that we post. This is your boy David from NBA Knowledge. Y'all have a great day. I'm out. Peace.